Hi, I'm Nolan, 28, and 3 weeks ago, my brother slammed me into a wall over mashed potatoes. I wish I were exaggerating. I really do. But I woke up in a hospital bed, tubes in my arm, half my memories gone, and a searing pain behind my eyes that hasn't left since. What happened next? They never saw it coming. Growing up, Jude was the guy every kid dreamed of having as a big brother. 5 years older, tall, confident, funny in that big brother knows everything way. He taught me how to skateboard, coached me through my first breakup, even beat up a kid in 8th grade for calling me a nobody. I worshipped him, until I realized he didn't deserve it anymore. It all started unraveling the night our dad burned the meatloaf. Tuesday dinners at Dad's were sacred. Ever since Mom passed, it became our little ritual, me, Jude, and Dad around the table every week, pretending things hadn't changed. But that night, Jude brought tension with him like it was his +1. He showed up in a designer jacket, smelling like whiskey, and started in about how nostalgia is just emotional hoarding. Dad was quiet, chewing too long. I knew the look. He was tired. Retirement had drained him, the house was crumbling, and pride kept him from asking for help. So I offered. Let me move in for a while, I said. Split utilities. Help with repairs. Dad's eyes actually lit up. Jude's glass hit the table hard enough to make the silverware jump. Absolutely not. That's when the room dropped 10 degrees. What? I said. This house is a liability. Jude snapped. He needs to sell it and move into one of those retirement condos before it collapses around him. Dad tried to speak, but Jude steamrolled ahead, turning red, vein in his temple throbbing. I tried to stay calm, I really did. But then he said something about clinging to ghosts. And I lost it. This is our home, Jude. Not a stock portfolio. That's when he stood. All 6 feet 2 inches of him. Looming. You think this place is sacred? Mom's dead. Get over it. Dad flinched like he'd been struck. My chair scraped back. What's wrong with you? I said. He took a step forward. What's wrong with me? I'm the only one thinking clearly. You're thinking about lakefront property and Dad's equity. I shot back. This place isn't yours to sell out from under him. I swear I saw something flicker in his eyes, like an old grudge snapping loose. Take that back. Why? Hit too close to home? And that's when he grabbed me. Fist in my sweater. Breath full of whiskey and rage. Say it again. I looked him right in the eye. Dad would be ashamed of what you've become. Then came the crack. The wall. My head. The floor. And silence. I didn't even feel the blood pooling beneath me. Just nothing. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling wasn't ours. It was white, blinding, and smelled like antiseptic. I couldn't move. Couldn't sit up. There were machines beside me, 4 lines in both arms, something beeping steadily to my right. My brain felt like it had been shaken loose inside my skull. Like a drawer pulled out too far and slammed back and crooked. Alex was there. Hey! He croaked, face pale, stubble thicker than I'd ever seen. Jesus, Nolan. You scared the hell out of me. I tried to respond, but my throat was shredded. Sandpaper and broken glass. The nurse rushed in and dabbed ice chips on my lips while calling someone on the intercom. You've been out almost 3 weeks, Alex said, gripping my hand like I might float away. You've had 2 surgeries. Skull fracture. Brain bleed. They said you might not. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The memories came in flashes, disjointed and brutal. Jude's voice. His breath. The wall. Then nothing. The neurologist came in. Dr. Cohen. Gray hair, serious eyes. You're lucky to be alive, Mr. Bishop, he said, like that was supposed to be comforting. But you've suffered a significant traumatic brain injury. There's going to be a long road ahead. My mouth was cotton in vowels, but I managed. How long? He glanced at Alex. We'll know more as you heal. But expect physical therapy, cognitive rehab. You'll have deficits, memory, balance, maybe speech or coordination. You're going to have to relearn a lot. That word again. Permanent. It echoed in my skull louder than the machines. Dad came the next day. His hands were shaking as he walked in, holding a grocery bag full of oranges and crossword puzzle books. The bag dropped when he saw me awake. "Oh God, Nolan!" He broke down. Sat beside me, cradling my hand. Whispering, "I'm so sorry." Over and over like a confession. I didn't ask what happened. I already knew. But he told me anyway. Jude hadn't just shoved me. He'd slammed me into the dining room wall so hard my skull fractured in 2 places. I dropped like a rag doll. Blood everywhere. He froze. Dad had to call 911 while Jude just stood there staring at the mess he'd made. He was arrested that night. Aggravated assault. Dad bailed him out the next day, using the house he needed to sell as collateral. The irony burned like acid in my throat. Meanwhile, I couldn't walk. Couldn't write. I couldn't remember my PIN number or how to work the TV remote. The nurses were kind. So were the therapists. But I hated it all. The infantilizing. The slow crawling progress. The humiliating fact that I couldn't hold a spoon without shaking. And Jude? Not a word. Not a single message. Not a visit. Not even through Vanessa. Though she did show up once. She stood at the foot of my hospital bed in designer heels and a $600 purse, blinking like she just walked into a war zone. "Jude wanted me to tell you he's sorry," she said without meeting my eyes. "He didn't mean to hurt you that badly. This has been hard on him." Alex actually laughed. Not a nice laugh. It was cold and sharp, like glass underfoot. "Hard on him?" he snapped. "He put Nolan in a coma." Vanessa bristled. "He might lose his job. His reputation. Everything he's built." I sat up as straight as I could, my voice a raw whisper. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of my hospital room." She turned and left, heels clicking like gunshots down the hall. Alex stayed. Every damn day. Shaved me when I couldn't. Helped me eat when my hands failed me. Sat through every doctor meeting and held me through every night I woke up screaming. He never once made me feel like a burden. I was discharged into rehab 3 weeks later. Cleveland Heights recovery. 3 months of it. Physical therapy. Occupational therapy. Cognitive retraining. Every day I worked. Cried. Cursed. Then worked some more. I learned how to walk again, one slow step at a time. Learned how to write my name with a crayon. Learned how to remember 3 words at a time without forgetting the first one halfway through. Dad came to every family session. He cried more than I'd ever seen in my life. Sometimes I wanted to hug him. Other times I wanted to scream at him for bailing Jude out. But I knew he was trying. Unlike Jude. The prosecutors offered Jude a plea deal. 2 years in prison. 3 on probation. Jude's lawyer begged me to consider a settlement instead. 6 figures. No charges. I looked him dead in the eye. No deal. He blinked, like he couldn't believe it. "You'd let your brother go to prison?" I shrugged, my hands shaking too much to lift my water bottle. "He let me die on a rug. And that was it." I was done being the little brother who made excuses for a grown man's violence. He made a choice. Now he could live with it. The courtroom looked nothing like TV. No dramatic music. No sweeping speeches. Just beige walls, buzzing fluorescent lights, and a gallery full of people trying not to stare at me as I limped to the witness stand with a cane and a stack of note cards, because I couldn't trust my memory to hold more than 3 sentences at a time. Jude sat at the defense table, hair neatly combed, dressed like a banker. He didn't look at me. Not once. Vanessa sat behind him, mascara perfect this time, fingers clenched around a tissue like she was the one on trial. The prosecutor, a woman named Karen with ice in her voice, didn't hold back. "This is not a simple family disagreement," she told the jury. "This is a violent assault resulting in permanent brain injury. The victim, Mr. Nolan Bishop, nearly died. He will never fully recover." Jude's attorney tried to spin it. Said it was a scuffle between siblings. That we both said hurtful things. That tensions were high. That Jude hadn't meant to hurt me. Then he tried to paint me as the instigator. "Nolan has a history of being confrontational with his brother," he said smoothly. "There were arguments growing up. He made inflammatory remarks. I wanted to scream. Instead, I read my cards. I didn't push him. I told the jury. I didn't threaten him. I said our dad would be ashamed of the way he treats people. And for that, he slammed me into a wall so hard I stopped breathing. Karen brought in the paramedics who responded that night. Then my neurologist. My speech therapist. My physical therapist. One by one, they explained how my brain would never be the same again. The real gut punch came when she played the 911 call. My dad's voice, frantic and shaking. She's not breathing right. Oh God, there's so much blood. Please, please, hurry. I don't remember the moment, but hearing it. I saw Alex's face crumple beside me. My therapist, sitting behind the prosecution table, reached forward and touched my shoulder lightly. Then came Jude's turn. He stood, face scrubbed clean, voice soft. I never meant for any of this to happen, he said, eyes glassy. She was yelling. She pushed first. I just reacted. Karen stood up like a shark tasting blood. So your reaction to being yelled at by your little brother was to grab him by the shirt and smash his head into a wall hard enough to crack his skull? It wasn't like that. You're 6 feet 2 inches, correct? Yes. And Nolan? About 5 feet 9 inches. And he weighs how much less than you? Jude didn't answer. Karen held up the crime scene photos. The blood. The hole in the wall. The cracked drywall with my hair stuck to it. Was that how you just reacted? Jude went quiet. Then the coup de grace, the security footage from Dad's neighbor. It showed me arriving that night, calm, carrying a casserole dish in both hands. Peaceful. Smiling. Not a trace of aggression. Then they pulled up the text Jude had sent Vanessa during dinner. This is it. I'm done with the house. He's selling it tonight, or I'm going to make damn sure he does. The jury was out for 4 hours. When they came back, the air was so thick I could barely breathe. Guilty. Aggravated assault. Causing serious bodily injury. Maximum penalty, 10 years. The judge sentenced him to 4. Cited his lack of remorse. The severity of my injuries. The attempted deflection. Jude's face went sheet white. Vanessa burst into loud sobs behind him, mascara streaking like thunderclouds. As they cuffed him, he finally looked at me. I hope you're happy. I wasn't. But I was relieved. Because for the first time in my life, Jude finally faced the consequences of who he'd become. The fallout was instant. His pharmaceutical company fired him within 48 hours. Vanessa filed for divorce within a month. Their lakefront cabin plans? Gone. Foreclosure hit them like a truck. And Dad? He quietly sold some stocks and paid off the court fines to keep Jude from losing everything. Again. But he didn't ask me to forgive. Not once. He just kept coming to rehab, sitting with me through the endless exercises, handing me tissues when I lost patience with my body. One night, I found him in the dining room after everyone else had gone home. Just staring at the wall. The one Jude broke me against. I joined him in silence. After a minute, he said, I failed both my sons. I shook my head. You didn't hurt me. No, he said quietly. But I let one of you think he could get away with it. And that was the real crack, wasn't it? Not the wall. Not my skull. The illusion that family means safety, no matter what. Healing wasn't a straight line. It wasn't even a line at all. More like a roller coaster built by a drunk engineer, sharp drops, sudden turns, a loop upside down just to laugh at you, and then a long stretch where nothing seems to move. I spent 3 months in inpatient rehab, then moved into Alex's apartment because I couldn't live alone. I couldn't work either, not in the detail-heavy job I loved. I'd been a dental hygienist for 7 years. The precision, the fine motor control, the ability to hold my hands steady for hour-long procedures? Gone. Just gone. The practice held my position for 90 days, then called with that voice dentists use when they have to deliver bad news. We care about you deeply, Nolan, but we have to be realistic about patient safety. I understood. I really did. But it still felt like another fracture. Dad visited every day. Brought groceries. Paid bills. Sat quietly beside me during therapy when my hands shook so badly I dropped rubber balls and plastic cups on the floor. He never once looked disappointed. He just picked them up and placed them back in my palms. Again, he'd say. We'll try again. Some days my progress was real. Other days I'd wake up with a migraine so brutal I couldn't speak without slurring. I tried writing with my dominant hand and the letters looked like they were drawn by a toddler after 3 espressos. I cried a lot. I'm not ashamed to say that. Alex never wavered. He shaved me when the tremors were too bad. Carried me to the bathroom the night I collapsed trying to stand. Learned to read the micro-expressions I made when I couldn't find the right word. He once said, I'm not going anywhere. With such certainty that I almost believed I deserved that kind of love. Dad struggled too. He aged in front of me. Sleepless nights, guilt deepening the creases around his eyes. He hated the trial. He hated the aftermath. And I think he hated himself most of all. But the worst part? Jude's silence. Not one call. Not one letter. Not one sign that he understood what he'd done. The closest thing to remorse came from Vanessa showing up in rehab one afternoon, full glam and trembling. Jude said he's sorry, she whispered. He's just overwhelmed. He's losing everything. Good, I said. Calm. Flat. Unmovable. If she was shocked, she didn't show it. She just lifted her chin like a spoiled pageant contestant and murmured, You ruined his life. That time I laughed. Because the truth was simple, Jude ruined his life the second he decided money mattered more than family, pride more than love, violence more than words. The trial ended. Jude was transferred upstate. Vanessa divorced him within 6 months, claiming emotional cruelty and instability. He lost the house. Lost the car. Lost the cabin fund. Lost the friends who only liked him when he was shiny. Dad and I? We rebuilt quietly. I moved back home, not because I couldn't care for myself, but because he needed me just as much as I needed him. We repaired the dining room together. Well, Dad did the patching and painting. I mostly held the flashlight and screws because my hands still trembled like leaves in the wind. When the wall was done, Dad stepped back and stared at it for a long time. You'd never know anything happened here, he said softly. But I did. Every time I looked at it, my scalp tingled, phantom pain crawling along the old fracture lines. That's when I made the decision people didn't expect from someone still learning how to walk without swaying. I filed a civil suit. Medical bills. Lost wages. Pain and suffering. Everything the criminal trial didn't fix. Jude's lawyer tried again to negotiate. He offered a settlement. It was big. 6 figures. Enough to make most people fold. But I said the same thing I'd said in that hospital bed. No deal. If he didn't want a criminal record, he shouldn't have tried to turn my skull into drywall art. The lawsuit drained what little was left of his savings. The judge called his actions reckless and profoundly violent. The ruling was in my favor. Dad and I celebrated that night by sitting in silence on the couch watching Jeopardy and eating takeout Chinese. It was perfect. After months of therapy, I slowly built a new life. I couldn't be a hygienist anymore, but I could work. So I became a medical insurance coordinator, helping families navigate the same system that saved my life. Not glamorous, not flashy, but meaningful. My hands still trembled. My headaches still came and went like storms. My memory sometimes turned to fog. But I lived. And I stood again. The night I finished my rehab program, Alex took me to the backyard, under the maple tree Mom planted when we were kids, and he got down on one knee. I cried so hard I almost fell over. Dad cheered from the kitchen window like a man watching a miracle. Life didn't snap back. It changed. It bent. It reshaped itself around the broken parts. And somehow, I was grateful. 3 years passed before I heard Jude's voice again. He'd been released early for good behavior. Parole board signed off after 38 months. 4 years shaved down to just over 3. I wasn't surprised. Jude was always good at performing when it counted: handshakes, eye contact, sad puppy face. He probably quoted something about growth and redemption. Probably cried a little. Me? I didn't cry. I was busy learning how to live in a body that still betrayed me sometimes. When I heard he was out, I braced myself for the call that never came. Instead, he moved to Phoenix. New job in insurance sales, of all things. Because irony's got a great sense of humor. From pushing pills to pushing policies. I didn't hear it from him, of course. I heard it from Dad. Dad started visiting him again. Quietly. Once a month, flying out on a discount airline, bringing Jude photos of the house, updates on the maple tree, leftover guilt packaged in silence. I didn't stop him. I didn't like it. But I didn't stop him. Because even after everything, Jude was still his son. Still the boy Dad taught to ride a bike and coach through math homework and hug through fevers. That bond doesn't die, even if it rots. Still, I told him. Just don't ask me to talk to him. Dad nodded. I won't. He never did. Jude never reached out either. No text. No email. No letter. No apology. And honestly, that silence was louder than any scream. Alex and I got married that spring. It was small, 20 people in Dad's backyard, under the tree, with fairy lights and folding chairs and the ghost of what used to be hanging somewhere just out of frame. Jude wasn't invited. Neither was Vanessa, though she oddly sent a card. Congrats. And sorry for that hospital visit. It was bizarre, but I appreciated it. Kind of. Too little, too late, but at least someone in that relationship knew how to say sorry with a stamp. After the wedding, things got easier. Alex and I settled into life. I worked remotely. Wrote everything down because my short-term memory still acted like a moody teenager. Used alarms for medication and timers for appointments. I couldn't handle fluorescent lights or loud restaurants, but I could laugh again. I could cook simple meals. I could hold Alex's hand without my fingers twitching. It wasn't the life I thought I'd have, but it was mine. Rebuilt from rubble. I started speaking at brain injury support groups. Not just about the trauma, but about what came after. The betrayal. The grief. The quiet rebuilding of identity. People came up to me after every session. Some with tears. Some with hope. But one night, this woman, probably mid-40s, approached me with shaking hands. My brother hit me too, she whispered. I've been thinking about dropping the charges because my parents, they don't want to lose him. I held her hand and looked her straight in the eye. You're not losing a brother. He already made that decision. You're just refusing to carry his guilt. She broke down right there in the hallway. And I felt it, purpose. Real, sharp, spine-deep purpose. But life has a way of reminding you that healing is a cycle, not a destination. Last month, Dad turned 66. We threw a little party, chocolate cake, Mom's recipe, paper streamers, Sarah from work, Mrs. Kowalski from next door, Alex grilling burgers in the backyard like a domestic god. It was the first birthday in years where we weren't worried about lawyers or court dates or co-pays. After everyone left, I found Dad in the dining room, sitting quietly. He was staring at that wall. The one Jude slammed me through. The one we patched and painted and tried to forget. You ever think about him? I asked. He nodded. Every day. Still your son, I said. Dad sighed. He's not the boy I raised. No, I agreed. He's not. We sat in silence for a while. Then I asked, do you think he'll ever understand what he threw away? Dad didn't answer right away. He looked at the ceiling like the answer might be hiding in the beams. I think he knows, he finally said. But knowing and accepting are different things. Jude always had trouble with that second part. I smiled sadly. Mom used to say that too. She did, Dad said, chuckling softly. Said it after he broke your Game Boy in a tantrum. That made us both laugh. Real laughter. The kind that sneaks up on you and tastes a little like freedom. That night, I stayed up late writing in the journal my therapist gave me. The one she called the integration book. I wrote about Jude. About the boy who taught me to skateboard. Who sneaked me candy under the dinner table. Who protected me from bullies. And I wrote about the man who tried to reduce our father to property and me to drywall. They were the same person. That was the hardest truth to swallow. Not everything can be reconciled. Some people you love grow into someone you no longer recognize. Sometimes the best you can do is walk away without letting bitterness poison what's left of you. I didn't hate Jude anymore. But I didn't miss him either. And that felt like progress. 3 days after Dad's birthday, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A letter, folded, handwritten, and unsigned, but the handwriting was unmistakable. It was from Jude. I sat on the porch for a full hour just staring at it like it might catch fire if I opened it wrong. Alex came out, coffee in hand. "You okay?" I held it up. "Oh," he said softly. He didn't ask questions. Just sat beside me and waited. Eventually, I opened it. "Nolan, I don't know how to start this. I've written and trashed this letter a dozen times. I've been in therapy for a year now. Not because of prison. Because of you. Because I see your face every time I try to sleep. I don't expect forgiveness. I probably don't deserve it. I just want to say that I'm sorry. Not the courtroom kind of sorry. Not the lawyer-approved version. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't stop myself. I'm sorry I stood in that hospital hallway and couldn't walk in. I'm sorry I let Dad mortgage the house for me. And I'm sorry it took losing everything, Vanessa, my job, my freedom, to realize what I'd become. You were right. I saw the house as equity. Not home. I saw Dad as a burden. And I saw you as competition. None of that excuses anything. I just wanted you to know, I know now. I'll never ask you to forgive me. But if one day you can believe that I regret every second of that night, I'd be grateful. Tell Dad, thank you. Tell Alex I'm glad he stayed. And tell yourself, you didn't deserve any of it. I'm sorry. Jay. My hands trembled so badly I had to put the letter down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, breathing through the earthquake inside me. Alex rubbed my back. Said nothing. Eventually I said, "Well, that took 4 years and 2 ruined lives." He nodded. "Still didn't say the words 'I forgive myself.'" "No," I agreed. "He hasn't earned that yet." But I didn't throw the letter away. I put it in a drawer. Filed under, things I don't know what to do with yet. Dad was quieter than usual when I told him. He read it in silence, jaw tight. "Do you believe him?" I asked. "I believe he wants to be better," Dad said. "That's not the same as being better." "No," he said. "But it's more than I thought we'd get." We left it at that. For a week, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About what remorse looks like when it finally arrives, battered, late, with nowhere to sit at the table. I didn't write back. But I didn't shut the door either. And that, for now, was enough. Because here's the thing no one tells you, closure doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it limps in through the back door, quietly, letter in hand, whispering "I'm sorry" with no demand attached. Sometimes it's not forgiveness you need, it's confirmation. That you weren't crazy. That the pain was real. That the silence wasn't your fault. And sometimes the biggest relief is not in what someone says, but that they finally said anything at all. Funny thing about healing, it never shows up where you expect it. You think it'll come when the letter arrives, when the therapy kicks in, when the scars fade. But sometimes healing shows up while you're reorganizing the garage with your dad on a rainy Sunday, and he suddenly says, "Your mother would be proud of you." Like it's the most obvious fact in the world. Or when you catch yourself laughing, like really laughing, at a dumb joke Alex makes, and realize you haven't thought about brain injuries or courtrooms or drywall in 3 hours. Or when you see your reflection in the mirror one morning and your first thought isn't "What did I lose?" but "What am I building today?" Those moments? That's where healing lives. The letter didn't change my life. But it changed the texture of it. It softened some of the jagged edges. Took the sting out of certain memories. It let me stand in the dining room, look at the patched-up wall, and think he knows. Whether that knowledge haunts him or redeems him, that's on him. About a month after the letter, something unexpected happened. Vanessa emailed me. Not through Jude. Not through Dad. Just directly. Subject line, closure, or something like it. She wrote, "Nolan, I know I'm not owed a single second of your time, and I won't waste much of it. I saw the letter. Jude asked if he could send it to you. I told him to do it. He's not the man I married anymore. That's a good thing. He's wrecked, Nolan. Therapy's helping, but it's slow. He's not looking for pity, and I'm not writing this to defend him. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not just for that hospital visit. For all of it. For believing him. For staying quiet. For making your pain feel secondary to his. I hope you never see me as one of the people who hurt you, but I know I probably am. I hope you're well. Vanessa. It was simple. Unexpected. And weirdly, human. I didn't reply. I didn't feel the need to. But I didn't delete it either. I let it sit there, like Jude's letter, quiet, unresolved, but no longer ignored. That same week, I gave a talk at a high school health class about brain trauma and recovery. Not dramatic. Just practical. The kids asked smart questions. What's the worst part? The headaches? Do you remember the moment it happened? Not at all. Can you forgive someone who caused it? I paused on that one. Then I said, maybe. If they try to become someone who deserves forgiveness. The teacher later emailed to say one of the kids told her it was the first time they'd thought about the consequences of violence before it happened. That meant more to me than any court ruling ever could. Meanwhile, my relationship with Dad kept growing. We fixed up the old shed. Took walks after dinner. He started calling me kiddo again. It made me feel 10 years old in the best way. One night I caught him flipping through old photo albums. Pictures of Jude and me in matching pajamas. Bike rides. Halloween costumes. He saw me looking and said, "He wasn't always like this." "I know," I said. "I keep wondering if I missed the signs." "You didn't," I told him. "He changed. That's not your fault." Dad nodded, blinking hard. "He was a good brother once." "Yeah," I said quietly. "So was I." We left it at that. Because sometimes that's all you can do, acknowledge what was good, what was lost, and what's left. Alex and I started planning a trip, nothing fancy. Just a cabin in the woods, no cell service, plenty of quiet. He joked that I could finally read a book without 3 alarms going off to remind me which chapter I'm on. I smiled. Because I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. The maple tree bloomed early this year. It was the first spring since the trial that felt normal, whatever that means after everything. Alex and I sat out on the porch with iced tea, watching bees drift between the blossoms. I hadn't needed a migraine pill in 6 days. My hands hadn't trembled once that morning. Progress used to feel like walking across a stage in a cap and gown, or buying a car, or getting a raise. Now progress looks like chopping vegetables without slicing my fingers. Remembering where I parked the car. Laughing when I forget a word instead of panicking. That's the thing they never tell you. Healing doesn't give you your old life back. It gives you a new one. One you have to build piece by piece, more careful, more intentional, and sometimes, more beautiful. Dad came out to join us. Sat on the porch swing in his worn-out Ohio State sweatshirt. We didn't talk. Just watched the sky turn orange. "I replaced the screen door," he said after a while. I nodded. "I noticed. It doesn't creak anymore." "Nothing's supposed to last forever," he said, almost to himself. "But sometimes we fix what we can." He reached into his pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. Jude had written again. Shorter this time. Just 4 lines. "Still working on being someone worth knowing again. Not asking for a second chance. Just wanted you to know I'm trying. I hope that matters even if it's late." I didn't say anything. Didn't feel anger. Didn't feel pity. Just felt. That was new. Feeling without drowning in it. Alex leaned over and kissed my shoulder. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, yeah." We went inside and made dinner, grilled cheese, tomato soup, nothing fancy. I didn't burn the bread this time. Another small victory. Later that night, I stood in the dining room. The patched-up wall was still there. Smooth. Painted over. No signs of the violence that nearly ended me. But I remembered. I remembered everything. Not just the pain. The recovery. The mornings I couldn't sit up on my own. The first time I tied my shoes again. The day I cooked dinner without supervision. The moment Alex said I do, under a blooming tree. The letter. The porch. The laughter. The silence that didn't hurt anymore. The truth is, some walls stay broken. And that's okay. Because some people become walls themselves. We hold things up. We carry the weight. We protect the ones who stood by us when everything else collapsed. I still walk with a limp some days. Still keep timers and notes and alarms. Still get headaches that knock me out cold. But I'm standing. Breathing. Loving. And that's not just enough. That's everything. As for Jude, maybe he really is trying. Maybe not. But I finally understand. His journey doesn't get to define mine. Because I didn't stay shattered. I built something new from the cracks. And somehow, it's stronger than what came before.